Most people know ChatGPT. Most people know Sam Altman. But the man who actually wrote the code, who understood the research deeper than anyone in that building, nobody's talking about him.
To the last question, the super intelligent AI that's out of control. Yeah, that'd be pretty bad. Yeah, so it's like it would be a big mistake to build a super intelligence AI that we don't know how to control.
But here's a part that should genuinely disturb you. That man, the one who had built it, looked at what he had created and tried to burn it down from the inside. And when it didn't work, when Altman came back and all the machines started running, Ilya Sutskever walked out quietly and said these three words that should genuinely terrify you. It's not safe. The man who knows more about this product than anyone else alive, the actual architect, is scared of what he had actually built. In May 2026, a man walked into a federal courtroom in California and sat down under oath. His name is Ilya Sutskever. And if you don't know who that is, that's exactly the problem. Because while the world was watching Sam Altman do these press conferences, TED Talks, hearings, magazines, and all sorts of stuff, this man was actually inside the building and was building that thing. And I'm not talking about the pitch, not the vision, the actual tech. Ilya Sutskever was OpenAI's co-founder and chief scientist. The person who, more than anyone in that building, understood what they were actually building, creating. And when he sat down in that courtroom, he rebuilt something that barely even got out of the Silicon Valley. Barely. His stake in OpenAI is worth roughly around $7 billion. For a man most people have never even heard of. How many of you knew him? But here's what's strange. He is not at OpenAI anymore. The man worth $7 billion from a company walked away. Just like that. Voluntarily. Quietly. Bro, if I had that much money, they would have to drag me out, man. Trust me. Ain't no way I'm leaving that much money. So what he's really doing is the reason we are here today. Because the story of why really or actually Ilya Sutskever left OpenAI isn't really about OpenAI. It's about what he saw inside of it. To understand what Ilya did in November 2023, you need to understand what his position at OpenAI actually meant. He wasn't a manager, he wasn't a figurehead, he was the chief scientist, the person responsible for the core research direction of the most important AI lab on the planet. And he was on the board, which meant when it came to the decisions about the future of OpenAI, he had a vote. On November 17th, 2023, that vote changed everything. Everything. The OpenAI board, a small group of people that most of the outside people don't even know about, decided that they had to remove Sam Altman as the CEO. Effective immediately, Ilya Sutskever voted yes to kick him out. Now, think about what that actually means for a second. ChatGPT had just turned 1 year old. It had 100 millions of users. Sam Altman was on the cover of magazines, and he was testifying before the US Senate. He was, by every external measure, one of the most important tech person at that time. And the board, with Ilya's vote, fired him. And no warning to staff, just a public statement, like not even exactly detailing the employees that the CEO was gone. The official reason that was actually given outside to the public was quite vague. And every article I've read, I tried to dig deep into this, but the best I found is Sam Altman wasn't really candid with the team members and all. I don't really know what that means. Honestly, maybe he wasn't too transparent or whatever it was. he wasn't too candid with the teammates. No one really went into specifics or any examples of what he did. Just gone like that. And for about 96 hours, everything that followed was complete chaos. The first thing that happened was confusion. OpenAI's president, Greg Brockman, also co-founder of OpenAI, resigned within hours of the news getting out. He wasn't going to stay if Sam Altman wasn't there. I don't know, he might have his reasons, whatever. Then the staff started talking. Then the staff started organizing. Over 700 employees, and at that time, OpenAI had roughly around 770 employees, signed an official letter that Sam Altman needs to be reinstated, or else they will quit themselves. So this was a big thing back then. They said, if Altman doesn't come back, we are going with him to Microsoft. Oh, man. It's really hard to find employees who love their bosses, right? And this was 700 out of 770. He must have done something, right? Must have. Like, what do you mean nearly entire company was willing to walk out for him? And Microsoft, who has, at that time, who had invested like billions into OpenAI, was blindsided. Satya Nadella went on television looking like a man who had just seen his house burned with fire on news. Trust me, he looked like that at that time. And he announced that Sam Altman would be leading a new team, like an AI researching team, at Microsoft. A move that was either a genuine offer, could have been, of course, or the most effective negotiating pressure in the history of Silicon Valley. Could have been both, depending on who you ask, really. OpenAI's valuation at that time was somewhere around tens of billions at that time. And all of it, every single dollar of it, was standing on knife's edge for that 4 days. Who is taking that much money? Who's gonna take the stake? Like all these crazy things in 96 hours, those 4 days. Because we have to understand the people who actually built it were ready to leave. 700 out of 770 employees were like that. Gone. And somewhere in the middle of this, Ilya Sutskever at some point started having second thoughts. On November 20th, 2023, 3 days after the firing, Ilya posted on X. In essence, he wrote, "I deeply regret my participation in the board's action. I never intended to harm OpenAI. I love everything we've built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite the company." That is the post. And he signed those 700 letters with the other employees for Sam Altman's return. And Sam Altman came back. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. And within days, a new board was formed. The people who actually voted for Altman to be fired, now they were gone. They were fired. Altman was reinstated as a CEO, and with a new structure of governance that gave him like an significantly more power and like more restriction, like how he can be removed again. The 4-day crisis was actually over after him being back. But something really shifted inside. Because Ilya had just done something that is almost impossible to process. Just think about it. He voted for the most powerful person in his company to be removed. Right? He voted. That was his vote. Then he changed his mind. And then he was the person came back stronger than he left. Now Altman had more power, and they needed, now the company needed more power for Sam Altman to be removed again. And then Ilya started quietly pulling back from the company. No more public appearances, no more research papers attached to his name, and absolutely no interviews. Just silence. If you followed AI news closely in early 2024, you might have noticed something. Ilya Sutskever had basically disappeared. Not literally, he was still listed as as OpenAI staff, like chief scientist. Technically, he was at OpenAI, but he wasn't really showing up on things, not really posting, not really active on social media for months. In an industry where everyone has opinions, everyone goes on podcasts, everyone is building their personal brand while still being employed on the company, Ilya was completely silent. Completely. Like zero, nothing. And the thing of about silence from someone his position as Ilya speaks louder than most people's words. Because this wasn't really a shy person hiding from the spotlight. This was one of the most respected researchers in the history of machine learning. A man who had given talks, a man who had written significantly large amounts of papers and set the direction of the entire field. Like, he was one of the most credentialed people in that field. I mean, he still is. He isn't dead. But yeah, he went quiet. Then people started noticing, where's Ilya? Where's my bro? Where's my broski? People were asking. But there was really no explanation, no statements, just absence. And then in May 2024, nearly 6 months after the boardroom chaos, he finally said something. May 14th, 2024, Ilya posted on X, "After almost a decade, I have decided to leave OpenAI. The company's trajectory has been nothing short of remarkable, and I'm confident that OpenAI will build AGI that is both safe and beneficial. I have a new project that is very personally meaningful to me, about which I will share details in due time." That was it. Just, "I'm leaving, I have a new thing, and I'll tell you later." Gone. That's it. OpenAI put out a statement the same day. Sam Altman posted that Ilya was one of the greatest minds of our generations, and that his contribution has been enormous, like largely. Very warm, very professional, and very carefully worded. I mean, at his version, you have to be careful what you say. It's not like me, like with. Now, here's what makes this departure really different than every other executive exit. Ilya didn't leave because he was pushed out. He wasn't fired. You have to remember that. I mean, he wasn't really unhappy about the compensation as well. That man had like $7 billion lined up. One plausible reading that I can genuinely think of my own is that the way he said that it is not safe earlier is that he was genuinely terrified of what OpenAI was actually becoming. I mean, the lab that he co-founded in 2015 had a specific mission: build an AGI to benefit all of humanity. That was the stated reason of all of OpenAI's or ChatGPT existence. That was exactly the reason why some of the smartest researchers actually joined to be together to work as a team. But by 2024, nearly 10 years later, OpenAI had become a different organization, like a different style of organization. It had a multi-billion-dollar partnership and commercial partnership with Microsoft. It had products that were generating millions in revenue. Most importantly, it had a CEO who was raising money from sovereign wealth funds and talking about restructuring the nonprofit into something more like a traditional for-profit company. And I'm not saying that is necessarily wrong, but it has strayed way further than why it was actually started. And for Ilya, the man who actually cared above everything else about whether the thing they were actually building was actually safe or not, that thing really drifted way too far. Really. So he left. And what he built next is where this story gets genuinely strange. A few months after leaving OpenAI, Ilya Sutskever announced Safe Superintelligence, SSI. The premise was almost absurdly simple. One goal: build safe superintelligence, nothing else. No products, no APIs, no consumer app, no revenue, no limits, nothing. Just we are going to solve the safety problem of super intelligent AI, and we are not going to stop until we do it. Simple. He founded it with Daniel Gross, a former Apple AI lead and partner at Y Combinator, and Daniel Gross's collaborator, Nat Friedman, former CEO of GitHub. And then they went out, raised money. In late 2025, reports confirmed that SSI had raised over $1 billion. The investors included Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia Capital, and DST Global, some of the most sophisticated technology investors on the planet. Think about what those investors are actually betting on. At this point in time, there is no product to evaluate, no demos to even watch. There is no revenue model to stress test. But there is a man, a bald man, sorry, yeah, and his stated belief that super intelligent AI is coming. It's inevitable. And the most labs are not taking safety seriously enough. Someone needs to solve that problem as quickly as possible. With that, that man really raised $7 billion? Oh, my bad. He raised 1 billion. Sorry, I'm mixing things up. $1 billion. Which tells you something that people closest to this tech, some of them at least, are taking safety as their priority, or like they're keeping in check. Because let me tell you, these companies and this person that I just mentioned, these are not naive investors. They are in the top of the game for a reason. Yeah? These are the people who has seen every AI pitch in the last maybe decade. Whenever the first thing ever came out, they must have seen it somewhere, right? And they actually know what a bad bet looks like. They know what hype looks like. And those people actually put $1 billion behind a lab that has no product. And that has a mission that anyone in the Silicon Valley is saying that it's actually insane or impossible to obtain. A safe superintelligence. In May 2026, Ilya walked into that federal courtroom we mentioned at the start. The case was Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI, a legal battle over whether OpenAI had betrayed its original nonprofit by building commercial products and shifting towards for-profit structure. Ilya testified under the oath. He did. And what he said was revealing. Trust me, it was. And not really because it was scandalous, but because how clearly it showed the tension behind the OpenAI's core existence. When asked about OpenAI's need for commercial structure and external funding, he said something that really just cuts right into it. If there is no funding, there is no big computer. That's it. That's all he said. Really think about what it actually means coming from the man himself. This is the man who built the most powerful research engine in the most powerful AI lab on the planet, who understands better than almost anyone like what it actually takes to run a frontier model. And his honest assessment is you need money. If you don't have money, this doesn't work. Clear as that. You have to be a dumbass to don't understand that, right? Which really puts him in a difficult situation. Because the thing he actually believes, the potential of becoming the most terrifying tech in human history, also takes shit ton of money to build the infrastructure safely. You can't really do this from a garage. And you definitely can't do this with pure intention and with donations. Really, you need the fucking money. But the money really changes what you build and how fast you build it and what corners you're really willing to cut. And that is exactly the trap Ilya saw at OpenAI. And and I think that is the reason he left. Really. Because think about it, there is really no exit point at this point. Really. I mean, if I was him, I would really stay for money, but I don't know what was really terrifying. Like, I don't know, if I shit my pants, what would I do? Like, I don't really know, right? So I can't really talk anything except for the money part. And that's, I think, exactly the reason why is building SSI to escape that trap. Because that, it just has one thing: build safe superintelligence. No bullshit, nothing. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Because the easiest way to tell this story is as a drama. Boardroom coup, famous CEO fired, man walks away with billions of dollars, and all. It's interesting, but ultimately another Silicon Valley power story. That's it. But I don't really think that is what is actually happening here. Geoffrey Hinton, the man often called the godfather of modern AI, left Google in 2023 specifically so he could speak freely about AI risk without embarrassing his employer. Yoshua Bengio, another pioneer of deep learning, has spent the last 2 years testifying before the government and signing open letters about the existential risk of advanced AI. And now Ilya Sutskever, who was inside the most powerful lab on the planet at some point. He was inside the lab, he was doing the research, he understood the capabilities more than anyone else in that building. And the same person walked away from $7 billion in equity just to build another company, which he had to build from scratch. Let me remind you. And the only reason he did that was just to make sure this tech doesn't go wrong. That must mean something, right? Think about it. How bad should it have been for Ilya to go through all that? And you have to keep in mind, these are not journalists, or these are not like reporters like saying things. This is the guy who built it, the person who has been around it from the start. And the same man is shitting his pants, scared, and not in a vague, handy wavy way, in a specific, technical, we know what these models are capable of way. When Ilya talks about safe superintelligence, he's not talking about chatbots not saying rude things. He is talking about system that, if built without a proper hindsight, could do something that humans couldn't really understand, or protect it, or survive essentially. And that is the scenario he is trying to prevent. And the sole reason the SSI even exists, the reason it doesn't have any product, the reason it doesn't have any demos, because everything else is noise. The only thing that matters is safe superintelligence. That's it. And at this point, SSI has now been operating for quite some time now. And still, there is no product, no research demos, nothing. For a lab that raised billions of dollars, that is quite unusual. You have to think very carefully. Most AI companies that are at that level of funding are desperate to show something, at least anything, a blog post, a benchmark, like anything at this point. It's $1 billion. SSI has nothing public, nothing. And depending on how you look at it, that's either really deeply concerning, or they really mean what they're actually saying, or what they believe they're saying. Because if your whole mission is to save AI or build a safe AI, the product should really be the last thing to come in, right? So, I mean, by the books, or by the looks, they are on the right track. In this case, the silence isn't really an absence. It might be work, could be. But here's the thing that, or rather a question that I just really keep coming back to. Ilya Sutskever spent nearly 10 years at OpenAI. He watched the lab go from a scrappy non-profit to one of the most powerful AI lab on the planet. He was there for every major breakthrough, every capability jump, every time the model got better. Then he voted to remove the CEO, right? He did. Change his mind and watch the machine just keep running. And then, while he had $7 billion on equity lined up, he just walked away. And not really to retire, not really to rest, but to build something harder. The $7 billion man really goes back to zero because he thinks they're building an OpenAI is not really safe and he needs to do something about it. And he still thinks that people who are building it aren't being careful enough. And maybe he's wrong. I hope he's not, but maybe he's wrong. Maybe SSI goes wrong. Maybe the safety problems turns out to be solvable. Maybe easy fix. Maybe Altman version of OpenAI gets it right. There's tons of maybe, should be's, could be's, whatever. But if the man, Ilya Sutskever, is right, if the man who actually built that thing, who was in every research, like every part of the fucking build, if he's right about what is coming, then SSI isn't just another AI startup. It might just be the most important AI lab on the planet. And the fact that most people who are watching this video have never even heard of him or heard of the company, that really explains shit ton of things. That is not really an accident. That is usually how one of the most important things start quietly. All right, that was a long one. Um, I was really thinking of deep diving into him, and then I just got into this deep cycle of research and all. So I hope you enjoyed it. My eyes hurts because of all these lights and all. Subscribe if you I have some few more important people lined up, and hopefully you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Bye.